2013, and I'm joined by Paul Koretz and Jose Rizar. So we have a quorum, and we can move forward with our business, government business today. I have one card from Sylvia Lacey, and this is on item number 1, and she's for the proposal. But before she speaks, is there any general public comment by anybody about anything? Public comment, open, public comment, closed. You feel good about that? Okay. Maria, I'm turning it over to you. Take us through the steps.
Item number 1, we have a Wesson Zine motion requesting the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to prohibit the parking of vehicles with a for sale sign on Washington Boulevard between South Ardmore Avenue and South Catalina Street, South Normandy Avenue from Venice Boulevard to Santa Monica Freeway, and Little Normandy Avenue from Washington Boulevard to the dead end.
Do we have somebody from Mr. Wesson's office here? From Mr. Wesson's office?
Yes.
Please, have a seat. Introduce yourself.
I'm Sylvia Lacey, the District Director for Council President Herb Wesson. And we are here to request the no cars for sale signs posted in the aforementioned area. We have, this problem existed when we came to office, and it's gotten progressively worse. We've done 5 or 6 task force with the State Department of Motor Vehicle, Commander Stephanie Wheaton and Richard Rudell. We're not able to do that anymore because of their staffing issues. During those task force, we had Parking Enforcement, LAPD. There were several arrests made, one for a couple for existing warrants. There were cars towed. 2 of them were stolen vehicles, and the other 6 were non-properly registered. We have had the curbs painted red, and they park there anyway. We've had 2-hour parking signs posted. They park there anyway. When parking enforcement comes, suddenly there's this huge mad scurry to move the cars. They go around the corner, parking enforcement leaves, they return. We're at our wits' end. It is our understanding that Councilman Labange has had great success with the no cars for sale, and I'm calling it that because I don't know what else it is.
You got it.
Okay.
We're with you on this.
All right.
All of us have the same issues. We deal with it everywhere.
Yeah.
Did the department want to respond to this at all? Okay, Mr. Koretz.
I just had one question. It sounded like you said people actually had for sale signs on stolen cars?
Yes, in two of the task force one of the task force we did, 2 of the vehicles actually, because we had the state DMV people with us, so they could run them right then and there for us. And 2 of the vehicles were actually reported as stolen, and they had nice big for sale signs with the telephone number on.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Rosendahl. It's a problem all over the city. The worst area that I had.
We want the slides to be passed up to the attorney. Pass out all the material we need to have to officially be on the record to do this properly.
Right.
And then there's some emails from community members.
Oh, good. Do you have the reports that were prepared by you in the State Department, or the Department of Motor Vehicles? Do you have anything in file?
I do not, and I'm not sure that our office was ever given those, because it's DMV and the persons. But I can certainly check with the office and see if we have those, or copies of those.
Give these to the city clerk for the city clerk file on this matter.
Colleagues, if you look at the attachments, you will see the photos that Mr. Koretz was alluding to. City Attorney, do you want to explain anything on the record for us?
Under 87.55 of the Municipal Code, if we can establish through the evidence, through photographs, through testimony, that those streets have become a nuisance, public nuisance in regard to for sale signs. Under state law, we can prohibit the parking of vehicles with for sale signs. We did it on Los Feliz and Franklin Boulevards, and it has been very successful. It's eliminated the problem there. I can start to prepare the ordinance And in the meantime, since you're going to obviously, I think, pass it and recommend it to council, I'll start that. And at council, as we discussed, your council member may want to call this item special to let citizens who will show up have their chance to speak.
That all sounds sensible. We've got the department head here. He's been nodding his head. Everybody's real positive about this. We'll take it through the process. It's clear to me that it is, as Mr. Kretz said, an issue for all of us. And I ask for unanimous support. Mr. Kretz?
Yes, of course.
Mr. Weezer? Yes. Okay, and yes, unanimous. We will go
Thank
forward.
you very, very much.
Thank you very much. And we'll schedule it as the head of the department and the president of council work it out.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, we have an item 3, and then we have 2, 4, and 5 that we would do on consent. We could do consent first, or whatever. Mr. Kretz.
I have a short question on 5, so if we could keep that off consent, I
Okay.
would appreciate it.
We'll hold 5. Okay, 2 and 4, any problem with that, folks? On consent? Okay, unanimously approved. 2 and 4 unanimously approved. Then we have 5 where we have a question, and then we have report number 3. Okay, let's go to number 5 and see what your question is.
Okay, item number 5 is the LDOT report relative to revising existing parking meter zone boundaries and updating the list of public off-street parking facilities.
Yeah, this actually seems like a great idea. I just wanted to ask, I have an upcoming facility that's in process at the Robertson Recreation Center where we will probably go from having virtually no parking to 30 or 40 spaces. Will we need to do the same thing, or will this cover other centers?
Dan Mitchell, Department of Transportation. It would depend if that location, is it an off-street parking lot or a
It's an
on-street
on-street parking lot. It's a very dense area, so we suspect that it will draw people that are not using the park into the parking lot.
If that area is in an existing parking meter zone, then we can study that and consider whether parking meters should be installed. If it is not, then it would need to be included in, it could be a separate item or it could be included in the amendments that were being made.
Okay, thank you. That's
Okay, with
All I
that
have.
appreciation, do we have a support on this, Mr. Kretz?
certainly.
Yes. 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 Okay. Done. I'd like to ask the head of the department to come up real quickly before we do the next item. We've done that item. I just want to say that the Ciclovia was fabulous, and I just want to go on record, and I want you to talk a little bit, reflect for a second with me. I was there at the farmer's market in Mar Vista. Literally thousands of cyclists came by. They went to more places in Venice, went back and forth. Proud of everybody and everything we did with that. We're already talking about the next one going forward. Could you just reflect on what we just experienced and lessons learned and where we take it next?
Thank you, Councilman Jaime De La Vega, DOT. Just by way of background, I rode the route with my 2 daughters and took the Expo line and subway, so it was a good day. We had ramen and a little Tokyo at the end. We're debriefing with LAPD right now on safety issues. I think one observation on Venice is we probably should have had both sides of the road open. I think you saw in your district it was highly congested. It was sort of ironic that there was bicycle traffic congestion. You know, you couldn't get through an intersection when you were stopped in less than 3 cycles, right, Paul? And so I think there was a lot of demand. I think the Ciclovia organizers estimated the demand at maybe 150,000 people. My engineer said it might have been closer to 200. We don't have an exact count, though, but it was definitely a well-attended event. I think also we need to look at potentially having less car crossings for both safety and also to make sure that the ride for the participants is more enjoyable. Obviously, there are going to be trade-offs, in each respective council district. And also, depending on the length of the route, perhaps extending the hours of operation, maybe starting earlier and ending a little bit later. Because I think that on average, we're probably going 5 miles an hour, and you just couldn't do a 30-mile round trip in 5 hours. Even though I think a lot of the cyclists were probably fit enough to go faster, there just wasn't enough space to go faster. So it was definitely a more leisurely ride, not a race.
Well, I just want to, on behalf of the whole city, phenomenal. Everybody within the mix of making it happen did a great job. I only regret that I didn't get on a bicycle yet. I'm still dealing with my cancer situation, but it was enjoyable to be. Paul?
Nothing to add. It sounds like it was a great success, as all the others have been. It almost sounds like it's becoming too much of a success, and we have to figure out how to broaden it so we have room for all the cyclists.
Right, agreed.
Mr. Weezer?
Why don't we do that every day?
Shut down Venice Boulevard and CD11 every day?
Okay, let's not go all the way to that. We could take a significant portion all the way. I don't know, with downtown, you know, real impact, we allow bikes and other alternative sources of getting around, like just stay open all the time.
I don't know the answer to that. I think one thing that we are looking at with city planning in the mobility element is looking at designating certain streets as prioritizing bikes and probably putting cycle track facilities on those streets, which means you'd actually have a curb between the cars and the bicycles. I think that's going to be a policy discussion that's going to come forward to council. Obviously, some streets would be more appropriate than others. Also, I think you have to look at the demographics of the respective neighborhoods and council districts. In areas where there's more transit dependency, walking and cycling, it might be more appropriate to do that.
Well, I also want to thank the mayor. His leadership on this issue has been real. When he busted his arm, he got back on the bike. He and I did some bicycling together. Obviously, I was very excited about a 5-year bike plan. I was getting it going and moving on it. How many miles have we done of the bike plan already?
Just bike lanes alone were over 140 miles.
I mean, I can't ask for more. It's phenomenal progress. So hats off to the mayor. Hats off to you. Hats off to the police and how they interact with everybody. And hats off to everybody who participated in this. It is becoming, as Paul is saying, ho-hum. We love it when it gets to that point where it's an acceptable part of who we are as a people. And we know multimodal, that we need to walk, we need to ride our bike, we need to get in mass transit. And the last thing we need to do is get in our car, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other comments from anybody else here? Let's just give a round of applause. Okay, what's next?
Item number 3, which is an LADOT report relative to extending the parking meter lease contract with IPS Group Incorporated for up to 5 additional years to May 4th, 2018.
Take us through this. LMU in the back, I want to talk to you afterwards.
Good afternoon, Dan Mitchell with the LADOT. So the parking meter lease program has allowed the city to quickly upgrade 20,000 parking meters throughout the city of Los Angeles. It's had numerous advantages for the city, including guaranteed net revenue without any capital outlay. It's provided outstanding customer service improvements. And that strategy was a 3-year contract. It's currently set to expire on May 4th. The department's recommendations are concerning extending that contract for up to 5 years, 1 year at a time, allowing us to continue this strategy. The original contract was for 10,000 meters. It was expanded to 20,000 in December of 2010. And now, in order to continue finishing paying off those meters through an innovative lease-to-own program, we need to extend this contract at least 2 more years in order to accomplish that. The alternative would be to front fund paying off the existing meters, the outstanding balance on all of those. But our department's recommendation is to continue the current strategy, and that's the way our current budget is laid out.
Very good. There are 5 questions for the record.
Okay.
This contract extension doesn't preclude us from entering into contracts or agreements with similar vendors, correct?
That's correct. Yes, this just maintains it as a strategy.
Review the proposed contract extension.
Yes.
Are there any legal issues associated with extending the lease for 5 years on a sole source contract?
The city attorney didn't. Oh, sorry. reviewed it, I did not see an issue here. We are the lessee under 1015 of the Los Angeles Administrative Code. We can do it.
Number 4, when do you anticipate the majority of the meters be paid off?
The majority of the meters would be paid off in the next fiscal year. Our estimate is because the last meters were upgraded in June of 2011, that the last meters will be paid off somewhere around June 2014.
The last portion of the report suggests there's a benefit to extending the lease because it provides us access to new technology over the term of the agreement. Are there any imminent technology refresh elements on the horizon?
Yes, one of the provisions of the lease contract is a technology refresh provision that allows us to consider new technology. So one example of that would be contactless card readers. So a lot of the credit cards are moving to a new form where instead of a mag stripe, you can have a contactless payment form. And that's technology that will soon be available. That's something that the department would look at. And that provision of the contract would allow that type of upgrade to take place with the parking meter technology.
Sounds great. You know, some of my constituents have been really nasty to me about this. And their bottom line is that they're getting tickets. We have responded and said, you're not getting tickets. We give you enough notice, enough notification, enough forewarning. Where are we on the actual ticketing issue that people complain about?
I believe, Council Member, you're referring to our pay-to-park policy, which is a policy that says that unless legally exempt, a parker needs to pay either with coin or credit card, or if neither are available, they need to find another parking space. That condition has become extremely rare, so rare that it's happened only half a dozen times so far this calendar year.
And that's because our technology is so good, we have it in place, that we're not getting that issue.
That's correct. Our response times are outstanding because of the new technology that reports to us automatically when there's a problem. But in addition to that, we've removed the motivation for vandalism. So through the Council's support for this pay-to-park policy, there's no motivation for someone to break a meter in order to park for free. And so the result has been very, very little vandalism of that sort.
Mr. Koretz.
Yeah, are there any other interesting technologies that are on the horizon that we should be watching out for?
One of the other improvements that's come recently is some larger displays. I don't know whether the council members are familiar, but the existing parking meters have a smaller display. The technology needs to be energy efficient. It has a solar panel, runs off of batteries, but the technology is getting more energy efficient, and as such allows for larger displays that are easier for the public to read. So that's something that we're going to be experimenting with in the next few days, is testing technology that has a little bit larger screen.
And I know Mr. LaBonge hates this idea, but have we gotten to the point yet where our meters can go back to zero when someone vacates a space?
That is technology that's available, and that is not something that we have embarked on testing in downtown as part of our Express Park program, but something the council authorized us to do as a strategy of this program. So that's something to look for in the future for us to look and see how effective that can be. That's something that the City of Santa Monica has embarked on and found it to be very valuable in helping to turn over the parking spaces.
Yeah, I would imagine in the denser areas like downtown or Westwood, some of the places that really have a struggle with parking, that you would probably generate a fair amount of revenue. And even though, as Mr. LaBonge says, it's a treat to show up and get an extra 20 cents worth of free parking, the fact is that could add up to a lot of revenue. So if we haven't studied that, I suspect if we did it citywide, it could generate in the millions of dollars.
It can, and it is a technology that needs to be very carefully analyzed because of the opportunity to clear someone's time when they are still there, a certain high-profile vehicle type, So that's something we'd step forward with very carefully. But in addition to any revenue impacts, because certainly the technology costs money as well, so that would balance out any revenue increase, or at least some of it. But as a parking management strategy, while it may be a nice gift to find time waiting in your space when you arrive, that time doesn't help encourage turning over the space. So as a parking management strategy, putting a value on that parking space is what helps encourage turnover.
Yeah, without a doubt, that's the case. So there's multiple reasons to do it. One more question. It's not entirely clear to me the advantages and disadvantages of continuing to lease as opposed to just purchasing the meters from the company. At what point does it cross the threshold to where it's cost effective for us to own them?
Well, it's always cost effective to own them. The advantage to leasing is that we do not need to pay a large sum of money up front. It allows us to spread that capital cost over time while using the additional revenue the meters generate to pay for them. So I believe Councilman Rosendahl likes to refer to the gold in the gutter. Basically, this strategy picked some of the gold up from the gutter and used that to pay for the meters, and the rest of the gold we took to the bank.
So at what point are these paid off, and are they ours under the current scenario?
So under this scenario, it's a 3-year payment strategy. So over 3 years of making payments, then that meter then transfers ownership to the City of Los Angeles.
So the 5 years of renewals?
The 5 years of renewals were first to make sure we've paid off all of the meters that are outstanding. There is additional extension because one of the provisions of the lease is that we wouldn't pay more than the additional revenue we get. So whenever that kicks in for X number of meters, that means we save money that month, but it also delays another month us paying off those meters. So there would be some time extension there. But the reason the department's recommending a 5-year authorization, or up to 5 years, is to keep this award-winning lease strategy on the table as an option for us. As was mentioned, it doesn't preclude the procurement or purchase or installation of any other equipment. It just keeps this as an option that's been very successful for us.
Very good. Thank you.
Very good questions, Mr. Koretz. Very thorough and down the wire. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Mr. Weezer? He has absolutely no questions on it either. We're very happy with the direction we're going. This will be an unanimous vote or not. Go forward.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Okay, unless there's some public comment going once, public comment. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Dale.
You're welcome.
A well-run meeting.